perfect.
Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood night. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesmand, coming to you on a Thursday, July 1st. That's right, it's July. That means there's lots of fun things in store for LA Galaxy fans. 6 games coming up. There's a 10-day break in there, and there's still 6 games coming up. I'm sure I'll go on a small rant about the Gold Cup, the schedule, and all the fun things that are happening with the LA Galaxy. But first, coming up, July 4th, LA Galaxy versus Sporting Kansas City. Fireworks, fun, fantastic soccer, a huge game for the LA Galaxy with tons of players missing. We're going to talk about all that, get you through all of it. To help me out, I don't know if you guys even remember this guy. He was here a long time ago. You may have liked him, you may have not. I got a lot of notes saying good riddance. But no, he's here. He's back. It's Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
I'm back, baby. I'm back. It was a long, extended break. I agree with you. Hopefully, the listeners didn't forget about me, but I'm glad to be back talking LA Galaxy soccer. So exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, you have big news. I think first, I don't think we should bury the lead on this one, but you have big news. So, so tell our listeners if they aren't on Twitter or social media or anywhere and have been living under a rock.
Yeah, if you're not on Twitter, you're not following me, I gave a little update, just some personal news that I have going on. I had a work relocation for my wife, my lovely wife. Fortunate that she's good at what she does, and people like the work that she does. So wheels were set in motion for a work relocation. So we moved from California to Texas. So you are now looking at the Texan Hammer. Got a hat and everything. So, I'm ready to move out to Texas and be a Texan there. And I'll be starting a new career out there, or not a new career, but, a different job, still in the same field, still the same career.
Professional TikToker.
Professional TikToker was not an option.
Yeah.
When I went there, but just exciting times, exciting stuff for the family. We have everything going on, everything's situated. The last few weeks we're putting some final touches. Back in Southern California, saying some goodbyes, and then headed back and getting settled in Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody is worried about our show and sort of how we've done it, is we've been operating with you, testing out the waters in Texas for quite a while. So it's nothing new and holding. By the way, For everybody who is wondering what it's like in Texas right now, tell everybody where you are.
Right now, I am in Cerritos, California. I'm in my childhood bedroom. My new work opportunity is going to have me traveling back to Southern California, Northern California. So you haven't gotten rid of me yet, Josh. I'm still going to be around. Of course, home base will now be outside of Dallas, north of Dallas, Texas.
Right.
But I'll still be in Southern California, still California based for work. So you can't fully get rid of me. I'll still be around. So that's kind of the irony is. Leading up to my break, I did shows from Texas. Everything was fine. No one was none the wiser. Right. And then I took my break, and then now I'm back, and I'm actually recording from California, which is the irony on that is pretty funny.
I would just like to remind you that one of the reasons that you were, invited onto the show as a co-host at the very beginning is because you would bring me white girl coffee. Now, I know that's no longer within your wheelhouse, and certainly the pandemic slowed that down. Would like to remind you, Postmates does deliver Starbucks. So if you would like to order me white girl coffee before we start a show, because I'm drinking water right now, Eric, and I don't know that water is going to power us through this this exhaustive stuff that we have to get to. I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah, and I will say, with Central Time being a difference, it is recording a little bit later now from the new headquarters. So the coffee will be a must, and it's good to know that Postmates delivers. Pumpkin spice season is around the corner. So
okay, good.
So maybe there'll be a little treat coming your way soon.
I certainly hope so. Aaron, by the way, gave us a $5 super chat and says, "Is $5 super chat enough for me to get the Hammers dachshunds when he moves?" And this is no way innuendo for anything else. Although I'm not so sure about that. But.
Yeah. So sorry, the boys traveled with me.
Okay.
That's the one thing I learned with the move. There's a job for everyone. There are people who will move your dogs for you. So that's a thing.
There you go.
Who knew? Who'd have thunk it? But sorry. I'm not giving up the dogs.
Yeah, and then Jose sent us $5 for no reason whatsoever. So Jose, you moved to the top of the list over Aaron for sure because you didn't give a reason. I like those even better. Jonathan, by the way, is checking into our live chat. He says, "Hey guys, I'm on a plane right now to go look at properties in Southwest Colorado." So he's bailing too. So he's going to be halfway in between. You guys can do like a little relay and stuff like this. So we'll rock and roll. So there we go.
One thing I will say, and because I'm seeing a little bit of it in the chat, and you said bailing. I love Southern California. I grew up here. I'm a California guy. It's my home. So I'm in no way, it's a job move. Obviously there are some pros and cons and some things that worked out in our favor. There were more pros than cons, and that's why it ended up working out. But that is in no means, I still love it here. Still a California guy.
Okay. All right. If you say so. I'm just saying. I have to show love. I want to make sure that you're okay. That's really what I want.
I am okay.
Okay. If you say you're okay, then I'm fine with it. I'm good.
Blink twice if you're not okay.
Yeah. I think maybe you were being held hostage, but hey, maybe not. That's fine. All right. Let's get to some LA Galaxy news because there's a bunch of it. Nice little Thursday news dump. A whole bunch of things. Gold Cup rosters were actually supposed to be announced yesterday, and then they all got delayed, I think, and got announced today. So all those came through. We're going to talk about those. One of the things the LA Galaxy did have, by the way, today was a media call. So I want to go over that real quickly. Greg Vanney, Jonathan Bond, and Sebastian Lletget talked. Some of the things that were discussed on there was just absences, obviously absences with Gold Cup, and we're going to go over those absences and sort of how that goes. Greg Vanney said, everybody's sort of looking forward to the July 4th. It was fun. He reminisced a little bit, and it's always fun to have a former LA Galaxy player be able to reminisce. He reminisced about playing back in 96 and the July 4th games and playing for the LA Galaxy in the early days. He goes, we always knew that whenever it was July 4th that the Rose Bowl would be like 60, 70,000 people. He goes, there would be a ton of people. The fireworks would be there. He goes, we always knew it was a special game for us, and maybe it was a chance to get fans who weren't always, people who weren't always LA Galaxy fans to come in and see the LA Galaxy and convert them. So they were always well aware of that, which is fun because especially in the early days, as a soccer player, you're like, well, we need to play well and we need to be entertaining because we're trying to make this league grow. So I thought it was
entertainment.
It's entertainment, right? And he knew that, and so he sort of took a look at that and said, "Oh, okay, that type of thing." So it was fun to sort of say. Nikki from Spectrum Sportsnet was talking to him about just how quickly everything came together for this team, and how he goes, have they gelled faster? Have you seen a team gel as fast? And he also mentioned the '96 team that ran off like 12 wins in a row, even with the shootout era there in '96. So there was all of these things that were sort of fun to look back and reminisce on about how this team is coming together. And, he says that everybody is coming together really fast. And so he sees it and he's appreciative of all the hard work everybody's putting in. And certainly the wins are sort of coming in. That was one of the things that Jonathan Bond talked about, which was fun. because I asked him basically, have you guys had a complete performance yet? We always talk about complete. I think this is like a fan or a spectator thing. You want to see the quote unquote complete performance, right?
Yeah, this has been the Galaxy's best half since 2014. Yeah,
right.
So we love to do that.
Yes, and so, but I'm sure the players sort of have an idea of when they play well, when they don't play well, that type of thing. And so I asked him, I'm like, okay, so. Have you guys put it all together? Have you had a complete 90 minutes yet? And he was like, no. He goes, but our closest game, Eric, did you see any of the stuff? You probably saw it. And then, so it won't be fun to have me guess. Do you know which game they said is the closest one?
I did not. So I'm walking in blind here. Yeah. Okay. What they say the best game was.
First 10 games, which out of those first 10 games was what Jonathan Bond and Sebastian Lletget agreed was their most complete game?
This might be counterintuitive, but was it the win against San Jose at home?
No.
Where they got the own goal? No. Because they played really well. The goals just didn't come.
No, but you should go counterintuitive as much as possible.
Well, is it the Seattle loss?
Yes.
At home?
Yes, it's the Seattle loss at home.
That's fair. From what I heard, speaking of other news, I'm also a reverend now. I missed that game because I was officiating a wedding, but I heard the Galaxy played well in that loss. And then when I went back and watched, some of the highlights from that game, it seemed like, again, more that the chances aren't coming their way. And the funny thing is, we do a podcast. You ask Greg Vanney, you ask Jonathan Bond. Of course, they're going to give you better responses, but I would agree with them. The Galaxy, while they are gelling, they are starting to put some things together. I still don't think they're firing on all cylinders. They're getting good results. They're playing well, but I don't think this team is at its full potential, or I don't think they're close, and they're still getting results, which is a great sign. But I think this team still has a lot of room to grow. Yeah. Which is great with their position in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It is. It's good to see where they're at. And Jonathan Bont was talking about, he goes, we really did do all the things that we were supposed to do in that game. He goes, except we gave up set pieces, on a long throw in and on a corner kick. He goes, and it's so frustrating for that. It's so frustrating to be part of that, to know that you played your best game and you're still walking out of there with a loss because the defense wasn't stout enough. Ultimately they know what the problem was, and Sebastian Lletget sort of agreed with that and said, yeah, it was all those things. So I thought that was interesting. The most of the stuff, I'll tell you right now because it didn't get asked, but I know this to be the truth. We have, by the way, we're gonna have a pronunciation guide. Is everybody ready? We're gonna go with this. Not only, first of all, I have the video, I have all the stuff that we can sort of play, but I listened to it 1,000 times. Ryan Revolution. So revolution. It sounds like revolution, but revolution. Just a little difference there, and that's how we're gonna say revolution on the last side. It's gonna sound like revolution, and people are gonna be like, "Are you sure?" But that's how he says it, and I've listened to it about 1 million times. Maybe he said his name wrong. Whenever maybe he was nervous, and blah blah blah, the whole deal.
But that's actually a thing, because there's some moments where I'll go to speak Portuguese and I go like João. Do I say that with the American version, or do I say the Portuguese version, which is João? And so I'm saying it wrong, right, when I know the right way to say it. Right. So that I know you're making a joke, but that actually is a thing.
I mean, I can see being nervous. You're talking to the LA Galaxy's, Instagram live, or you're on their story. You have to get it right. Maybe this was the 12th time you've tried it because that English is not your normal language. I mean, imagine if they tried to get me to say something in French. It would be 30, 40 takes.
And I think that's the best point is, for any shortcomings, I think this was the issue with Jonathan Dos Santos, because, he was kind of struggling to speak English. When you think about, the average person, maybe one language, maybe two languages, the fact that they're out here and they're giving it a shot, especially early on, for the Instagram, for the TikTok to make it work, right, and giving love to the fans, give him credit for that. I'm sure he'll only get better from that point forward.
Revolution is going to be available for this game. We know that. It wasn't specifically talked about in there, but I'm telling you, he will be available for selection. I don't know if he plays. I don't know if he's had enough time to play. I don't know if he comes in the second half. I don't know if he's on the bench. I don't know what Greg Vanney has decided. Remember, Kevin Cabral landed, but didn't dress for the first game that he was sort of available. That was a little shorter time. It seems like Revolution has been here, I think, since Tuesday. Is whenever I sort of got tipped to it and was able to talk to the LA Galaxy and make sure that happened, Tuesday or Wednesday. So it feels like everything melted together this week. So it's one of these weird weeks. But we know he did photos. We've seen photos, all that. So he's been involved there too.
I like to read the social media tea leaves, and so the Galaxy was hyping him up and showing pictures of him in the tech green, saying that they're going to wear the tech green. Last time they did this was with Sega, I believe, and so when they hyped the picture up, he ended up getting some minutes. So I don't think the Galaxy would put those pictures out there if they didn't have an inkling that he was going to be part of the plan. So I think at the very least you'll see him on the bench.
Number 6, by the way. Woohoo, number 6.
Yeah.
So there you go. Definitely a defensive midfielder, and wearing the number 6.
It's a special number.
There we go. So so that's where we sort of sit. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Oh, the other big surprise. I'll tell you about the questions I asked, because those are ones I usually pay attention to more than any of the other ones. I asked Sebastian Lletget, being called up to the Gold Cup. We're going to talk about that. Sebastian Lletget was one of the ones that gets called up. As of right now, Greg Vanney said that Sebastian Lletget made a deal with the U.S. Soccer. Basically, Vanney made a deal with Greg Berhalter. Greg and Greg had a little talk. Only in this case, it's Greg and Greg. You got triple G over there and the double G.
But that's triple G's not right either, because that's a boxer. So
no,
you can get warm water there.
It doesn't work. It doesn't. It's 2G and 3G, and nobody's 5G, so we're okay. If you talk about it, Greg Vanney was saying that he and Greg Berhalter had an agreement that Sebastian Lletget left earlier for a friendly earlier this year, right? He left a couple days early. I think it was one of the ones that was over in Europe, and he left a couple days early so he could train and do all that. So the deal was that in this break, he gets to keep him for not only the 7-4 game, but for the 7-7 as well. So both of the games this week that are upcoming, Sebastian Lletget will stay here for. And so it's really interesting, because I asked him, I said, I said, nobody would ever confuse me for a professional athlete, so I can't say I know exactly how you're feeling, but I imagine that this is how something you feel. It's like you have a project that you're working with the LA Galaxy, and it's really involved, and you're doing it. You have this group project you're working on, and you're kind of coming up to a presentation, and then now you have to go off and work on another project with this team that's really important, but you're only there for a little bit of time. I'm like, is there mixed feelings with that? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, duh. I mean, I would imagine that's the case. I just want to make sure that that I'm still in touch with these things. But he says, yeah, it's very hard to sort of go in between all these things. And I thought that was just really interesting, because I don't think we ever think about that as the player side of thing, which is, I'm here, I'm battling for this team, I want to win every single game. And then that Sebastian Lletget is more than likely going to miss 4 games this month. He's going to make the first 2, but he's going to miss the last 4. So I thought it was really interesting just to sort of hear his thoughts on that. And I will have that up on our YouTube channel. We have the full media call in there as well. Also some semi-sad news. As somebody who I've worked with at the LA Galaxy for a very long time announced that he is leaving. Chris Glidden, who's in PR, who I've worked with for a very long time, is leaving the LA Galaxy. And so we wish him the best. That was all good, but he told us that on this call as well. So that was. He also lied to us.
Can he come to Texas? I miss that guy. Yeah, I don't want to lose that guy.
Yeah, your biggest fan for sure.
Yeah.
that guy loves you.
He's a good guy. He's one of the good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he's going to be leaving. So actually tomorrow is his last day. He won't even be at the game. So we got to say goodbye. He said all of us are the best writers that he knows. So we know he was lying or drinking, his last couple of days on the job, letting it all slide. He was not drunk, by the way, just FYI. Anybody who wants to hire him, I don't know what he's doing off after that, but he's a good guy. So we're going to miss him. And he has coordinated over the years most of the interviews that we have gotten on this show. So just sort of sad to see him go and that change. So thanks for everything, Chris. A little shout out on the podcast there. Let's get to Gold Cup call-ups.
But let me it's still related to Gold Cup call-ups, but I think just a takeaway that I took from the Gregs having their conversation is sometimes when you hear about maybe you can work out a deal and you think that's not how that works, but apparently that is how that works. And so it is interesting to hear that side of it, that they do keep in those conversations and say, we're going to hold on to him, take him early one time, and then we'll pay you a favor the next time around. And Lletget is in a unique situation that he was on both rosters. Greg Berhalter doesn't need to play him in a few games or get him earlier to see what Lletget can do. He knows that he's part of the squad. He knows how to utilize them. So It is, he didn't have to do that, but it's nice that the Galaxy and him were able to work that out. I just thought that was an interesting detail. That, as a fan, you don't think about that. You think, well, it's kind of clear cut. You get called up, you go when you're called, and that's that. But it was kind of interesting to see that those conversations do happen behind the scenes, which is it's great. The national team works with the club in that way.
Well, by the way, shout out to Anthony, who gave us a $5 super chat. He said, "What's up, Josh? Love the show. Excited to see Revolution's debut this weekend." The New England Revolution? Is that it? Is this going to get really confusing whenever they play New England?
Yeah. I was going to say you have the game preview is going to be ready to go when they play the New England Revolution.
Yep, there's a revolution and revolution.
Yeah.
I'm saying different things. All right, so that's where we are. Gold Cup call-ups. 5 LA Galaxy players got called up. Greg Vanney told Kevin that he expected 3, so it's interesting that it's 5. Now, 2 of those, I think, or at least one of those for sure, nobody really forgot it. Like, everybody was like, that doesn't really count because the dude's not playing. But Giancarlo Gonzalez is one of those for Costa Rica. O'Neal Fisher is called up for Jamaica. You had Jonathan Dos Santos and Efrain Alvarez for Mexico, and then Sebastian Lletget for the United States. So those are your 5. The interesting thing is that, as we said, Sebastian Lletget will be available for both of these games coming up, the July 4th game and the July 7th game. All these other have already gone and joined the team, so you will not see any of them. Jonathan Dos Santos, Efrain Alvarez training in Southern California. Where in Southern California would Mexico train? So many thoughts. I don't know. Where could they be training? Anyway, so let's just say they didn't have a very far walk to training, okay? So we're not supposed to say where they're training, but everybody can figure that out. But Mexico has some friendlies coming up before they get into the Gold Cup, so they're going to be in there. O'Neal Fisher with Jamaica was not a surprise. I think we were looking for Carlos Harvey possibly getting called up. That did not happen from the Gold Cup roster that I see there as well. So that didn't happen. No, Acosta was one of the ones that maybe was on the bubble as well. Didn't see that one as well. So between those, it's just those 5 players who will be gone. And listen, the one of the big, and everybody's saying snubs, which actually it turns out did not be a snub at all, was Julian Araujo. Eric, you and I talked a whole bunch, and everybody has talked a whole bunch for this whole year, saying Julian Araujo is definitely going to make this Gold Cup roster because he needs the playing time. He wants to be up with the U.S., and this is going to be his chance. Now, Sebastian Lletget won't go because he's been on the other roster, and they're going to save him for World Cup qualifiers. So why are they going to have him play in the Gold Cup too? But that is but we know nothing apparently. Is how it all
you know nothing. Yeah, you know nothing, Jon Snow. I think that's the quote there. But it is interesting that Julian didn't get the call. I think when the O'Neal Fisher signing was made, we said this is going to be a player who's going to fill in when Araujo is gone and finally gets those national team call-ups. And the irony is that the U.S. don't make the Olympics, so he's not going to miss that time, and he doesn't get the Gold Cup squad either. And so Araujo ends up being the stable right back, which we're not going to be upset about that. I think that's the choice one right back, and that's a great thing for if you're a Galaxy fan and the club comes first, then of course you're going to be happy that he's sticking around. And then Fisher obviously going. This is one of those things. I think it could just be take the story on face value. He needs more time to evaluate and make his decision.
We have an answer. Greg Berhalter actually answered this, which is and you were getting to it, which is exactly that. Is that Julian Araujo was not excluded from the roster. He was not snubbed from the roster. Julian Araujo basically said he's not ready to commit to the United States, and knowing that if he went into this Gold Cup, he would play the games needed to go ahead and then commit him to the U.S. and he would be cap tied to the United States. I'm going to divorce us from U.S. soccer talk or from Mexico soccer talk because for the purposes of this show, it does not matter. And so for us, we have to look at this, Eric, is this the right call for Julian Araujo? Is this the right call for the LA Galaxy? I mean, Galaxy fans, you should be stoked. Julian Araujo is on a tear. Despite some people in our Discord and other places who don't seem to understand how good Julian Araujo has been so far this year, as in probably one of the best right backs in Major League Soccer and outgrowing the league every single game that he plays. And so he gets to stay, and he gets to stay through 6 games where we were expecting that he was going to be gone. So huge plus for the LA Galaxy. But what do you think about for Julian Araujo and just maybe what he's trying to think?
I think the point I was getting to is you could take the story at face value and say that's the truth. He was, truly, needs more time. He doesn't want to tie himself by playing the number of games that's going to commit him to the U.S. when he still young, still at an age where maybe he can make that switch and still make an impact and have a longer career on a national team. But the other thing that I think about, and it's poignant with Carlos Harvey as well, is Harvey got called up for some friendlies and never saw minutes. So I worried, Harvey's been putting in some decent shifts, and I thought, well, if he's going to be gone and he's not going to play, then what purpose is that? And I kind of maybe pick up a little bit of that with Julian as well. We know that Greg Berhalter has called him up in the past and not utilized him. So you think, well, am I going to get called up to this Gold Cup roster, not play in a lot of games that's not going to cap time anyway, and I'm going to not be able to play with my club. So maybe he, that's part of his decision as well. Sure, it gives him more time to weigh the options between the Mexican team and the U.S. team, but it also could be, he wants to play minutes. He wants to showcase himself, and he wants to keep balling out and keep playing well. He's been one of the Galaxy's best players this season. He's towards the top of that list. So, to go and be a fringe player for the U.S. men's national team during the Gold Cup, or to stay at your consistent starting spot and continue to keep your stock high. I think that could be part of the decision as well. So that's me reading into it and kind of putting my own feelings and thoughts into it. It could very well be just exactly what what Berhalter said, and what got out is that he just wants more time. He doesn't want to commit just yet, and that's fine too. It's if he doesn't want to commit yet, you need to look at the options. The U.S. men's national team seems to be a national team on the rise. Those spots may be harder to come across, so maybe he sees opportunity to go elsewhere. We know, like we've mentioned with Efrain Alvarez, seeing a future more with the Mexican national team than the U.S. national team. That topic has been beaten to death. So it still rings true for Julian Araujo as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on it. If you're just looking at it just real surface level, you have to sit there and say, okay, well then, Julian Araujo is a kid who very well could be a starter for Mexico. I mean, and a starter for Mexico for their senior team, and that's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And so, making him make a decision, as long as he is comfortable with making the decision on his time, as long as he's not feeling pressure to make it, as long as it's not impacting basically his mental health side of things, then that's great for the LA Galaxy. However he wants to do it. Plus, he's still showing and still proving a whole bunch of things. I'm still of the opinion that Julian Araujo will not be here next year, and it's one of those things that you have to sit there and sort of be okay with. And I think the LA Galaxy are okay with that. It's just a matter of, getting through this season or through this summer, even maybe a pre-contract or something like that happens. But Julian Araujo may be worried about that club approach first. Not having to make a decision. He's still pretty young. He gets a chance to make that decision, and I don't think there's any choice in pushing any of that. So, it's kind of a non-story for me, except it's a big story. Everybody wants to sort of dig into it. FYI, Patrick gave us a $5 super chat. Says, sorry I'm late, watching Austin finally win at home, out hipstering Portland tonight. There you go. They scored goals at Austin. What do you know? That's the first. I watched 2 of their games to wait for that first goal and didn't get to see it. Of course, it happens whenever we have to be on the air. And then Herb in memoriam, $25. the whatever the Herb Memorial Studio, $25 super chat. Yeah. He says, hey Josh. He says, congrats to Mrs. Hammer on her new job. Best of luck, Hammer, to you and your family. By the way, just finished Ted Lasso. Loved it. Now I'll finally understand the references. Be a goldfish, Herb. Be a goldfish.
Football is life.
Football is life. Believe in all that. One of my favorite is in the first episode. It's like, hey, if we see each other in our dreams, let's mess around and pretend like we don't know each other. He's like, and they said, howdy, stranger, or something like that. I can't handle going back and watching it for the third time is even funnier. You're getting all the little tiny jokes that they cram. There are so many jokes they cram in there. Anyway, COG sponsored by Herb.
I was gonna say he needs like, I agree with what was in the chat. He needs an award or a segment. We need to do something because Herb just is killing it every week.
The Herb, let's see, the Herb. That would work.
The Herbalife.
The Herbalife.
Yeah, so we got to get something going. We'll workshop it. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll kick it around for a little bit. So, absolutely. Allocation money for the LA Galaxy for sure. Let's see where we're at. So that's what it is. Okay, let's get to this tournament though, because the Gold Cup is not a small tournament, and it will have a huge impact. And God help me, Major League Soccer, you break for 3 weeks for some important national games. I understand why, but actually a pretty light load in through all that. And then during the Gold Cup, when a ton of MLS players are going, the Gold Cup is even more of an MLS player draw than that initial, international break that they had. You're going to have 6 games in a month. And you know what? Austin may even have 7 games this month. I don't know if because they're playing tonight. So I know the Galaxy have 6 games, and there's a 10-day break in there. That's how congested it is. There's a 10-day break, and there's 6 games in July. This is kind of outrageous. The tournament itself starts on July 10th. For everybody who's playing along. And so the Gold Cup will be around. I think the finals in Las Vegas. I think we've talked about it before. It's already sold out if you're looking for that. But, there's still some to be determined slots in here, which God only knows. I have no idea. I pulled this directly from from what is it? Wikipedia? Not even Wikipedia. From like Google. Yeah, from Google. It's Google, right? And trying to find that. So who knows? Those may have been filled in and everything by now, and they're just behind the curve. But you have 3 group matches that are going to be going on, and those groups basically go from it starts on July 10th. The group stage ends 10 days later on July 20th. The quarterfinals are July 24th and July 25th. The semifinals are on the 29th. And then the final is August 1st. If you are expecting, like most people are expecting, the United States and Mexico to certainly be in the semifinal and possibly in that final, then you are going to be missing Efrain Alvarez. You're going to be missing Jonathan Dos Santos, and you're going to be missing Sebastian Lletget until after August 1st. That is cuckoo bananas, as a kiddo would say.
Yeah, the only saving grace to that is that the Gold Cup roster is heavily MLS based, so other teams are going to be missing some of their key players as well. So you're going to get, you're going to get similar depth players playing against similar depth players. But when you look at the schedule in June, it really makes you scratch your head because the Nations League, was a semifinal and a final, so it was at best 2 games.
Right.
Then you get the long break in there. Then the Euros start. I think there were maybe 5 players from MLS in total who played in the Euro. And so they kind of got a break there. And so now the Gold Cup, that's where the majority of these league players are going to play. And this is the region where most of them, make their trade. And so now that's the area where you don't give a big break and you can adjust the schedule. It just seems like this was, maybe they're smarter people than me, and there's a reason behind it, and behind the curtain, there's a reason why the break needed to be where it is. But it just seems like middle of July was a better break, because then maybe you get the end of the Euros,
right,
the beginning of the Gold Cup, and it works out better. And maybe you just miss a few games in end of July and August, as opposed to missing essentially the entire month. That's the most congested month, and then you're going to have a mad dash to the end of the season. So it really. It's a little bit baffling, and it's going to be tough. It's going to test your depth, and we're going to see, what these Galaxy, the French Revolution, we're going to see what they can do, because those players didn't get called up.
Yeah,
France is not participating in the Gold Cup. Last I checked, so
yes,
and their Euros didn't work out so well too. But I'm going to stay quiet as a Portugal fan.
Yes.
So so it should be interesting. We'll see if the Galaxy can squeeze the points, because I see opportunity. I think a well-coached team can do more with maybe not your best squads, and I think they have that with Greg Vanney.
And I think that Greg seemed fairly confident that they were going to be able to rotate. If we look at the schedule, obviously the 2 games coming up, quote unquote, next week, which is July 4th, LA Galaxy versus Sporting Kansas City. We know that this game will be impacted on both sides by these call-ups. And so that's something that's there. July 7th, it's LA hosting FC Dallas. And, it was one of those where you're like, oh, good, they get to play FC Dallas, who hasn't been that good. And then FC Dallas went and beat the New England Revolution last week, and you're like, no, don't. Is this going to be? Are they starting to do the Dallas thing that they do, which is get better?
And then Houston does the same thing, where the bottom of the conference, and then they somehow just show up every once in a while to frustrate the LA Galaxy and other opponents. So yeah, I'm right there with you, especially on the short rest.
Yep.
Game on Sunday, game on Wednesday. That's a trap game if ever there were one.
Oh, big trap game. So there'll be that one. And then it's away to Vancouver, which is really Rio Tinto. And then we talked about this. This is a road trip the Galaxy are likely to stay. July 17th is whenever they come out of that 10-day break. They will go to Real Salt Lake, basically, and play Vancouver at Rio Tinto again. And then they play Real Salt Lake 4 days later on that one. And so they will. That's a road trip where they can just stay in one spot, which should be a benefit, although you're at altitude. So I don't know how much of a benefit. Do you fly back home and then go back? I don't know.
Doesn't make sense. Stay out there.
Yeah, so if you believe that Vancouver is not a good team, which I believe, and if you believe that Dallas is not a good team, you have a game against Vancouver and a game against Dallas, and you have Real Salt Lake, who is sort of somewhere in the middle of good and bad, and is sort of just difficult to play against, I would say right now. They're not the Real Salt Lake of, the 2010s and 2011s and the 2009s, but they are still difficult to play against. And then you're going to finish off the month on July 30th, again, hosting hosting the Portland Timbers. And Portland, who apparently just lost to Austin, has been a bit of an enigma this year too. Remember the Galaxy lost to them, but they were playing better, and then Williams got the red card. The other thing
the
is
infamous game. Yeah.
The other thing is, I think that Williams will be able to come back on the 17th. I think that's when he kicks back into all of this. I'd have to double check, but that's what I'm looking at right now. So that's your July schedule, and then August has 6 games too. Fun. So yeah, it's going to be August 4th hosting Real Salt Lake. You have August 8th hosting Vancouver. These seem like I've heard these teams before. You're going to have August 14th, which is where the LA Galaxy will travel to Minnesota. And then the LA Galaxy host Colorado 8/17. They host San Jose on 8/20. Then there's an all-star game in between there. And then there is the game against LAFC at Bank of California Stadium to wrap up the month of August as well. So, yikes, holy monkey. That's I don't even know what to say to all of that.
Yeah, I will say you also bury the lead, Chicharito, in the skills competition. I'm sure we'll have a nice lead up into that when we talk about the All-Star game. I know that was breaking news, exciting news. I'm sorry if I cut you off. I know you were chomping at the bit to let everyone know that one.
So let's just say there was a large radio program that was talking about the MLS skills competition and doing this whole like song and dance about it and how like the whole deal. And I was like getting seething angry about useless stuff. And it's supposed to be fun. I think the tickets are like $25. You can go and do it. But, whenever they did it in 2019, there were 3 groups, right? There was Orlando City, like had a 3-person team. And then the MLS All-Stars had a 3-person team. And then Atletico Madrid, which is who they're playing, had a 3-person thing. I think Orlando City ended up winning it, by the way.
Yeah. Chris Mueller and Nani. It was fun. Make fun of it. Maybe I'm the wrong audience or I'm the wrong guy to talk to.
Oh, no, you're the prime audience. They're looking for you.
It was a fun, silly thing. I'd rather have them do that than play the game, the Liga MX versus because that no one's getting hurt. They're having fun. You get to show off. You make the spectacle of it, and then you send them back, and there's no harm, no foul. I'd rather do that than have them play the game where someone could risk injury because I think that game those players are going to go at each other in that All-Star game.
I was going to say, I can get on board that. Yep. I mean, we all pretend that the All-Star game is not a thing. If you want to make it a thing, play the Liga MX All-Stars because they're going to hate each other. Yeah. There's going to be carnage. Somebody's getting hurt in that game. Guaranteed. It's coming. So FYI there. So anyway, that's what's coming up in terms of schedules, Gold Cup, absences, all that stuff. I mean, it's a lot. And I think this is going to be the dominant story of this summer is the schedule is really condensed. There's these international breaks. There's these small little breathers that you're going to get in the summer. Greg Vanney called it the dog days of summer for Major League Soccer, and it's not wrong. It's much like Major League Baseball. Trying to get through a whole bunch of games in the summer months is really where you can win or lose a season. I think that all of that seems pretty accurate, and I think the fact that this is such an important year for the LA Galaxy because really they're starting to put things together. I know Kevin Baxter was working on his lead already for what was going to happen on the game on Sunday. He was asking, what happens if they win? If the LA Galaxy win this game, they jump into, I believe I looked at it, is
second place. Not
only second place, but they will have the 3rd best start in franchise history. All right. And again, it was fun whenever we were talking about this stuff in like 5 games in. And
when they win the first game and they're on track to go 34-0. It's like, okay, now is when it starts to get real. I agree with you.
Yeah. And so I mean, we're almost a third of the way through the season. 11 games is closer to a third than 10 games is. But you're getting right there. You're really close to being a third of the way through the season. It means something. And I think this is going to be, if the LA Galaxy, and we're going to talk about that Sporting Kansas City game, if they can show well against Sporting Kansas City, do some stuff in that game, then that earns them a lot of respect around the league because right now everybody's drooling over what Sporting Kansas City has been doing, and rightfully so. SKC may be, if you're looking at power rankings, I know Seattle's number 1, but if you're talking about momentum, Sporting Kansas City is probably that top team right now.
Yeah, and I think power rankings and the actual rankings in the Western Conference they're in line. I think when you look at it, and it was interesting when you're pulling up that schedule for July and for August, and you see those teams, the FC Dallas, who's been struggling, Vancouver, who always struggles, Real Salt Lake, who, like you said, is not the same Real Salt Lake, Portland up and down, Minnesota up and down, LAFC having a down year. We also seem to have their number. So the only two teams that you really worry about are SKC and Seattle, and so these games are going to tell us a lot, because I think these are very winnable games. Normally, the Western Conference has been more formidable than the East, and it's tougher to get out of there. But when you look at that schedule and you look at how the Galaxy have been playing, it feels like like they can get a lot of points from these games on teams that they are supposed to beat, which is something in most recent years that's been the problem. They show well against good teams and then end up dropping points, and then against the bad teams they play down to their level and they don't beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Here it looks like they just do everything they're supposed to, and then at home on a week's rest against Sporting Kansas City with the 4th of July kind of extra sizzle in the air, and they beat them. That will get them some respect, because that's part of it. I'm back to talk about the power rankings, but the teams that the Galaxy are beating are not the teams that people are going to say, wow, did you see they gave it to San Jose, who's just melting and falling apart and just a disaster of a dumpster fire. You're not going to get a lot of points for putting them away, but right. Beating a Sporting Kansas City, you're going to get some credit, you're going to get some street cred, and I think that's what the Galaxy need. And then they'll go on and they'll get the Vancouvers and the Dallases and the RSLs and hopefully clean up a bunch of points there. And then once you have points in the bag, you can, start. We could really start dreaming, slapping that Ted Lasso, believe, be a goldfish, go sick, making biscuits, making cookies. We're going to have a good time.
Okay, good. It was. It's funny because I remember talking about 2020 or 2019 or 2018 really, or 2017, and you sit there and go, man, the schedule's really tough. Yeah, when you're a bad team, the schedule is tough because everybody can beat you, right? And so now you're into a different position altogether. You're in a different position. The LA Galaxy are in a much stronger position right now. They are a decent team. And so there are teams that we expect them to beat, like the RSLs, like the Vancouvers. Now, games on the road are still a toss-up, all right? But it's still something where you should expect to go into play Vancouver and get a point. You should expect to go to RSL and get at least a point whenever you're on the road.
You're going into RSL twice, but you're getting a point against Vancouver and RSL.
Yes, you want to grab at least 2 points. Now people will say, like the win against San Jose, that needed to be it was not a must win. It never was a must win. Now it was a really good performance against a really bad team who forgot that was a rivalry game apparently. But yeah, I mean, you are looking at the LA Galaxy being a top 10 team, even once the dust settles right now. The Galaxy have proven that they can get points when maybe they don't deserve them. Jonathan Bond talked about that today. He goes, it's crazy to see how many points we've had when we know we haven't played that well in some of them. And so maybe the LA Galaxy are outperforming, where they're supposed to be. And maybe there's a correction coming, right? But at the same time, you're not going to know that until they play the games. And at the same time, they're winning the games they're supposed to win. That's one of the big things.
And that's what we said about the Chicharito hot start. We said, okay, he got a hat trick, a brace. It's an anomaly. He can't possibly keep this pace. Cooled off for a few games, but now he's picking up again. Got 2 more goals. Got another goal. Tapping them in like he has been. And it's like, well, it's not breaking anytime soon. So maybe this just is who they are. We are who they thought they were. So they are who they thought they were. One of my favorite quotes there.
If you want to crown them, crown them.
Crown them.
Okay. Yeah.
But so we're starting to get into that territory where who they are is who they are, and that's who they're showing. So it's exciting because now they're going to add, Revolution and Sega, maybe possibly paired with Williams. Nick DePuy seems to be picking it up a little bit. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Let's get to some housekeeping. The LA Galaxy today, as they so rightfully tweeted out, rich Galaxy fans, they announced $50,000 general allocation money that they received from the winners of tonight's game, Austin FC, in exchange for the discovery rights to Moussa Jiti. And this is a League 2 French player that apparently the LA Galaxy had found and put discovery rights on, and Austin went out and signed him, which is why the LA Galaxy will get $50,000 in general allocation money. So as most people pointed out, I'm sure that is money that they're stocking up on Eric in order to sign Lionel Messi. So I'm waiting for it to happen. Yeah.
That 50K in GAM is going to make all the difference there. So I agree with you. So the one thing that I will say is the fact that the LA Galaxy admin tweeted that out, and this season, and it could be the wins, it could be the good vibes, it could be bouncing back after a pandemic year, but the Galaxy social media team has just been all over it. Just really engaging with the community and tweeting out awesome things, just being hilarious, making soccer fun. Yeah. Soccer should be fun, and the LA Galaxy community is a fun community. So just having them lean into it and embrace it, you love to see it.
You're just saying that because they tweeted out your TikTok. That's
absolutely 100%. Okay. State media. I'm on board.
All right. Good. I'm glad they sucked you in.
Consider the source.
No. You're absolutely right. It was funny because they on the anniversary of Mike McGee, they went back and found some of the old tweets from that, and they found my old tweet that I had whenever I went to that game. And I started, if I don't know if this is shocking news for everybody, I started Mike McGee Facts. This almost 40-year-old balding-headed dude way back in the day was at that game, went to it, was with the supporters group, was sitting in an airport in San Jose and tweeted the worst Mike McGee fact ever. And I don't even want to repeat it. I'm still embarrassed about it, but it kicked off enough that, it started Mike McGee Facts. So that's always
important programming note is that was the era of like the Chuck Norris facts and that type of deal. So it's really of the time.
It's a time capsule,
really,
right?
It really captures the moment.
It absolutely does. So that's where we have that. As we're looking at the LA Galaxy and their schedule, we've sort of told you they were training all this week. Basically, they had Monday and Tuesday off. They train Wednesday, Thursday. They'll train tomorrow, Friday. They'll train in the morning on Saturday. Usually that's just a walk through the day before the game and just sort of get everybody focused on some of the game points and do all that. And so then Sunday, July 4th is whenever the LA Galaxy will be going against Sporting Kansas City live on Spectrum Sports at 7:30 p.m. Broadcast time, although usually they're doing a good pregame before that, so usually around 7 is when that will start. And then kickoff itself is at 7:38 p.m. Usually I was going to say I'll give everybody in just a little clue. Anytime Spectrum is doing it, it's usually 8 minutes past the hour is whenever that starts. So whenever it's a 7:30 game, you know that it's a 7:38 p.m. start time. So
the reason I say finally is because 7:30 on a weekend at Dignity Health Sports Park. Nothing better.
Holiday weekend,
4th of July, fireworks, nothing better than that. So, it's nice to finally have a proper night game, even though the sun hasn't been setting until like 8:30 anyway. But, but still the right time to have a game instead of a noon game.
That works. All right, good. On the Eastern Conference side, New England sitting at the top, Orlando just underneath them. So New England has 23 points, Orlando has 21, Philadelphia has 19, New York with 17, Columbus 15, Nashville 15, and New York Red Bulls at 13. Last in the Eastern Conference right now is Toronto and Chicago, both tied with 5 points down there at the bottom, and Miami only has 8 points. Doesn't make the Miami win look all that impressive, but at the same time, I think Miami is better than what they think they are. I'm waiting for them to sort of click here in a little bit. They have a lot of pieces. I don't know if Phil Neville's going to be able to handle all of that team, because he doesn't seem to be handling it so far. So we'll see if he can make some adjustments. On the Western side, I should note that being that Austin won, they actually jump up, and so I believe that probably puts them in 9th or something. I grabbed these before the game was over. But anyway, right now Seattle is number 1 in the league and number 1 in the West with 25 points. Sporting Kansas City with 23 points. Just to note, Sporting Kansas City has 1.92 points per game. The LA Galaxy actually have a better points per game at 2.1. And games played, Kansas City has played 12. The LA Galaxy have played 10. So there's still 2 games in hand for the LA Galaxy here to catch Kansas City, which is good. That's where you sort of want to be. Well,
not only 2 games in hand, but the opportunity to leap and still have a game in hand is huge.
Yes, absolutely is.
Yeah.
If we look at the Supporter Shield, it's as we sort of told you, Seattle, Kansas City, New England, LA, Orlando, Philadelphia, New York. So sort of in there just to keep an eye on all those things as we go forward. Now, one of the things that we want to get to, and it's probably time that we should start getting to, is this game against Sporting Kansas City. Oh wait, hold on, I jumped the gun. Everybody wanted a rumor update. Right, and I have more rumor updates for everybody, and I know how much people like the rumor updates. I know how they're like, oh, this is the best part of the show. This will not be the best part of the show, because this will be just Josh getting angry for no reason. Is that Gareth Bale to the LA Galaxy? Now, when this first came out, like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I went out and said, there's no truth to this. I've talked to people. It's not happening. It's fun to talk about. It's still not happening. All right. Now, in that week and a half or week or however long it's been, I'm sure everybody thinks things have changed, that things suddenly miraculously, the LA Galaxy were like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? We are interested. We were just kidding before. Woo, yay, Gareth Bale. Here he comes. No, that's not the case. And it hasn't been the case. So no, nothing has changed. Any people who are writing articles about it are making stuff up, or they're just listening to an agent who's like waxing on about the LA Galaxy or anything else. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if the Gareth Bale rumor was true, but not for this LA team, that it was for the other LA team. And keep that in mind as well. There is an existing relationship between the LA Galaxy and Gareth Bale. And when I say that, I think that means people are like, oh, so see, it is true. No, it's still not true. There is an existing relationship. They know of each other. They have talked to each other. I'm sure at some point. I'm sure people. It's soccer's incestuous. Everybody knows everybody. Agents know people. The whole deal. So this is not a reach to say the whole thing. And I think that the LA Galaxy in a certain position would go after Gareth Bale. That's just not right now, and that's not this position, and it's not happening. Not right now. Could it happen this winter? Maybe. I mean, things would have to change. Designated player spots have to open up. Things have to move around. But it's not happening right now.
That's the thing. I think right now there's a lot of rumors just, with the summer, and he's a topic of discussion. So I get why that's a rumor. And I hate to be a broken record and say the same thing over and over. But whenever there's a rumor player who wants to play MLS, of course, then the LA Galaxy's name always comes up. And because of that, I do agree. I think there has been a relationship there because, with those International Champions Cup games that they've had, and the Galaxy hosting the Real Madrids of the world and having interactions with these players, it's not uncommon that these conversations pop up. So again, shout out to you for putting up and dealing with it and putting the kibosh on it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't look likely. So be prepared to see Gareth Bale in an LA Galaxy jersey September 1st. He'll be here.
I think
He'll be here in the fall.
I think I was gonna say. I think I killed this one too fast. Like people weren't quite like fever pitch whenever I killed it.
Let us dream. Let us salivate a little bit. Let the mouth water. Yeah. You didn't let it marinate enough.
I get. I'll learn next time. I'll just sit on my hands and not do anything for a little while whenever that comes out. But anyway, that's where we sit with Gareth Bale and listen. The LA Galaxy have a full roster right now. There's 30 players on the roster. Somebody would have to move and go somewhere in order for the LA Galaxy to get anybody. I have not talked to anybody recently about what their plans are for the transfer window, and I believe the transfer window opens in another 6 days because it opens on July 7th. And so I know it felt like it was only closed for 37 days. They've
got 50,000 in GAM burning a hole in their pocket. They got to do something with it.
I'm sure that they're just like Dennis DeClose is walking around like, what do I do with this money? What do I do with this money? No.
I think they give it to you in a banker's bag.
Yeah, they do.
It has a big cartoon dollar sign on it, and you have to walk around with it.
It's in ones, so it can be easily spread out and rolled around in. I'm sure that's what they do. So that's where we sit with that. Let's get to the LA Galaxy versus Sporting Kansas City. This game, July 4th, 7:30 p.m. on Sunday night. There will be fireworks. I told you already. Kickoff 7:30, 8 p.m. Game is on Spectrum Sportsnet, so you can expect that Joe and Kobe and Nikki will be on the call for you at the stadium, and so they'll be getting everybody ready for that. But I imagine that most people who want to will be at this game. This will be probably pretty close to a sellout. Remember that sellout number is like 26.5 something, 575, I believe, right in there. And so that's sort of what you should be looking for. I don't know if they're going to have the grass berm open. I haven't really been able to reach out and find out all the intricate details of what's happening. Plus, when you do a conference call on a Thursday and the game is on Sunday, there's still like this stretch in between. Yeah. In a whole bunch of things. So anyway, it's everything is pointing to this game. This should be a fun game. We've talked about the success that Sporting Kansas City has had so far this year. And Kansas City, 7 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties, goals for 22, goals against 15. They're +7. They are, I think, outside of Seattle or just right next to Seattle. They've scored 22 goals this year. Right now, and that is more than anybody else in Major League Soccer that I can see on my little sheets here.
And they spread it around as well. They have Saloy, they have Polito, they have Buzio. A lot that's coming from a lot of different players. Buzio is someone doesn't necessarily light up the stat sheet, but he has a huge impact on games. Which the good news is he did get called up to the Gold Cup roster, so I don't know what his status will be if he got the Sebastian Lletget handshake deal, see you later, or if he's going to be training with that team sooner. He wasn't part of the earlier Nations League team, so I would imagine he'd be there sooner. So that might be good news for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, the other thing is that we know that Alan Pulido was injured in the game against LAFC, a big gash on his foot. I don't know whether or not he will be recovered and ready to play in that game as well. That was a game where, by the way, I think Sporting Kansas City has come back. Let's see, I actually have this stat somewhere, and I'm going to try to find it for everybody. Sporting Kansas City came from a 1-0 down to beat LAFC 2-1 on Saturday. Its fifth come from behind win this season. Sporting has 16 points after going behind, more than 19 teams have in all of their matches total in 2021. So where we talk about, Eric, getting out in front of games and trying to play that game leading, you need to do that against Sporting Kansas City. Absolutely. You don't want their pressure. They're very good at counter pressing. They're very good at pressuring inside of your own half, and so passing things back is a difficult, it's a difficult thing to master against Sporting Kansas City. They're gonna throw numbers forward. Peter Vermees is, he's a kingmaker as far as he's the man. I love me some Peter Vermees. I think he is a pain in the butt on the sidelines. I think he jaws and yells and complains the whole time. And that dude is in charge of absolutely everything at Sporting Kansas City. Not one thing gets done without Peter Vermees giving sort of that okay. And for me, he always has his teams ready to play and can face up. The fact that traveling to LA is a huge plus because you want them a little bit off kilter. And one of the guys who's been off kilter so far is Johnny Russell. This is not the Johnny Russell of 2 years ago, Eric. He has not been that good this year.
I was going to say, this is not your mother's Scottish Messi, Johnny Russell. This is a player who's formerly, my favorite outside of the LA Galaxy player to watch. I agree. He hasn't been lighting it up like he used to. I talk about all the goals that SKC has been spreading around. He's not on that list, I believe. So it's kind of interesting. Of course, watch this be the game that he finally shows up and has a masterclass with some of the other players missing. But I'm going to knock on wood and hope that doesn't happen. But going back to SKC fighting back, and you can never count them out. And having, Peter Vermees, who, by the way, is excellent GIF material if you ever see some of the clips of him on the sideline. This team is always going to be able to fight back. You can never count them out. So if this was a Galaxy team who struggled against a lowly Vancouver and had a mental breakdown and allowed them to get back in the game, don't think you're going to be able to, do better than that against SKC. They're going to fight back. So, being able to put the game away early and getting a multiple goal lead is going to be crucial. And a close game, you never feel good against Sporting Kansas City.
Eric, is it if you've watched some of their games, do you feel like they are a team that likes to dominate on the ball? Is this going to be a counterattacking team? I mean, what do you see from I know I watch highlights too. That's really what I'm looking at for the most part.
Sure.
But what do you feel like?
From what I've seen, and I'm also going back to what I saw in the preseason. I know preseason isn't the regular season, but it looked like they're more of a counterattacking team. It seems like the players that they have, they bring speed. They go at the defense. So I think the Galaxy, they might let the Galaxy possess and then wait for them to make the mistakes and then try to catch them sleeping on the counterattack. I think that's more the thing that they're likely to do, and that's why they come back into the hurt teams, is because teams go up on them and then they crash back and make them pay.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It's one of those things where whenever you look at what the LA Galaxy are going to have to do against the Sporting Kansas City team, it is going to be, have to be in control of the ball more to keep Sporting Kansas City off of the ball and really to sort of press and move around SKC as much as they can. I mean, Tim Milia's in goal. He's a very good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Their defense is funny because I feel like it is good, but it's not as good as it has been, and Peter Vermees has been struggling with that. And so I think there is some room for the LA Galaxy to sort of go after that in some certain ways. By the way, Mr. Provino gave us a $5 super chat. What were you going to say? You can say it.
I was going to set you up since you were the one who had the wardrobe change. I said thank you to Mr. Provino. Get $4.99 in the super chat to have Josh reverse the jersey. He made me feel, I was like, why is he making me talk about, SKC's counterattack? I feel like this isn't normally part of the show. And then when the camera came back, I saw that you reversed the jersey. Forward Madison, an excellent reversible jersey. And thank you for modeling both sides of it. And thank you, Mr. Provino, for the super chat.
Yes, Forward Madison, a little USL League One team there, and they have a reversible jersey that has a bunch of flamingos on it, and so I had to purchase it. It's gorgeous. I love the reversible idea. It's perfect. It's party time, executive time. You can flip it black side, pink side. It's like
all business. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All business.
And Forward Madison, that's another one. They're just a club. Again, when you talk about social media, being engaged, being on top of it, that's a club that they're all over it. And so if you want to look for a lower level American soccer club to support, I would recommend you move in the direction of Forward Madison.
They're fun. They're just good times.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it. Just FYI, the Galaxy won both the meetings against Sporting Kansas City in 2019, the last time the two teams played. This is the Galaxy's first winning streak over Sporting since 2007-2008, as they had won just 3 of the 19 meetings between those streaks, where they lost 8 and drew 8. This is a game, usually, Eric, whenever the LA Galaxy go to play Sporting Kansas City, this is a draw fest. And so if you're leaning in one direction or not, then a draw is not really the thing you really have to worry about, or is the thing that you should be sort of betting on. If you're going to bet on something, it's probably a draw on this game. And people are going to say, oh, well, you drop points at home and then you're in trouble. It's like, yeah, but the Galaxy have been picking up points on the road too, so these things all equal out. Get points out of this. I think that's the bottom line with this. This is a very good team. This is a Seattle caliber team right now. And like I said, the way they're playing, and certainly they played against LAFC, and LAFC was, I think, a good test for them for a little while. And then there was the red card. And after the red card, that was it. And Sporting Kansas City was able to come back. But if you watch that game, SKC had a ton of early pressure. I think the Galaxy are going to have to weather. I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who could be a man of the match, he's been man of the match many times so far this year, but this could be one of his. Jonathan Bond is going to be tested in this game. They have too many good attacking players who can shoot from all over the field.
Agree. I think Jonathan Bond is going to need to have one of those performances. They have the offense that just makes you worry. And then on the other side of it, Tim Melia, how many times has that guy stood on his head against the LA Galaxy? Fortunately, they've gotten the better of him a couple times as well, but he's an excellent goalkeeper that's always tough to beat. And it's funny that you mentioned that a draw. Are you ready for 538?
Yeah, give me 538. Hit me.
So 538 has the LA Galaxy with a 38% chance of winning, Sporting Kansas City with a 39% chance of winning, and then 23% for a tie. But the reason why that's interesting, it's only a 1% different. It's basically a coin flip.
They're saying it's a draw.
They're giving a slight edge to Kansas City as the way, giving them a little bit of edge and giving them a little bit more respect. But to me, I'm seeing draw written all over this. I'm seeing like maybe like a 2-2 finish.
Choo. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't it. Okay, sorry.
Incorrect.
Okay. Chicharito, this is another little MLS fact they rolled out. Chicharito scored a brace against San Jose on Saturday, taking his total to 10 goals in 10 games this season. Only 4 players have scored more through their first 10 appearances in an MLS season. Carlos Vela in 2019, Chris Wondolowski in 2012, Landon Donovan in 2008, Roy Lassiter in 1999, all with 11 goals through the first 10 games. We talked about Chicharito on Monday, and we said that Chicharito is currently on the same goals per minute pace as Zlatan Ibrahimovic was whenever he scored his 30 goals. As a matter of fact, he's actually a little under it, but I rounded up, so they're both the same. They're right next to each other in terms of where that is, and that's not something we expected. Do we expect to see that continue? I mean, we did this before, right? He scores a whole bunch of goals, and then we have to recalibrate and say, okay, so how many goals is reasonable now? Now you have 20 games, 24 games left, Eric. The guy has scored 10 goals already. So how many goals does he end up with this year?
I think at this point, and it's going to sound crazy, 20 goals is the bare minimum. I think 10 more over the next 24. That's a mediocre performance, or middle of the road from your star striker, designated player who's been putting 10 more goals over the next 24 games. I think 20 goals is the basement. But the exciting part about that is there's a ceiling to that as well. I think he can absolutely break, maybe not break the record 30, because that'd be asking 34 goals, 33 in that neighborhood.
34. 34 is the
maybe.
record.
So that's 20, 24 more goals. Yeah, over 24 games, that's one goal per game. That's asking a lot. That's asking a lot. So I don't think it's there. But the fact that you have to talk about it. It's part of the conversation now because he is right now 10 games played, 10 goals scored. So he's right there, a goal a game. And so, who knows? We'll see what happens.
It'll be fun. Looking at this Sporting Kansas City game, again, no Efrain Alvarez, no Jonathan Dos Santos, no Pipo, and no O'Neal Fisher. So those are your 4 that you're missing. Daniel Steres seems like he's still out. We didn't hear any updates on him. It was a very crowded call today with SKC being the opponent and a July 4th game. There were a lot of people on the call, so normally I get a nice little housekeeping chat with Greg Vanney, and didn't get that this time. And so we don't have updates on injuries with Dan Steres, but I mean, again, with where he was at and sort of how Greg was talking, I'm expecting that he's not going to be in the mix for this. So you're looking at Nick DePuy, you're looking at Sega in there as well. You're looking at Julian Araujo on the back. You're looking at Villafana on the left-hand side. I mean, the midfield is kind of open, though. You could go with, Victor Vasquez, Sasha Kleshin, Sebastian Lletget, because you're not going to have that. You could see some Revolution in there as well, so he could be in there. There's a lot of flexibility, I think, in this. And you have Grand Sir, you have Cabral. I mean, you have Chicharito. Those guys are all available. So there's a lot of players available right now for these next 2 games.
I think Cabral is due. And I think he's under a little bit of scrutiny over that last game, missing maybe some of the easier chances. But I think the fact that he's in the neighborhood, he's knocking on the door, reminds me a lot of Chicharito last season. He was in the neighborhood, he just didn't have that final piece. So I think Cabral, I think he's due. I think this could be the game.
One. He's snagging.
Yeah, I think this could be the game.
It could be a big one too. I mean, one goal realistically could win this game. I can see this being a 1-0 game in either direction. I could see it being a 1-1 game. I could see it being a 2-2 game. Both of these teams can score, and both of them don't have the best defense.
That's where I'm going. That's why I think a 2-2 is likely.
Okay, so you're going to go 2-2 draw. I'm going to say, I'm going to say 1-1. I'll be different. I think 2-2 is probably where you sort of look at that as well. But it should be a good game. Should be an exciting game. I'll tell you, the LA Galaxy are very motivated by the fact that they lost the last time they were at home against Seattle in a game where they thought they played well. That is a call to arms for them. That is a rallying point. They are focused in on this July 4th game. It's the next one coming, obviously. It was funny because Damian Calhoun asked a question, and he was like, just real quick before we go, can you talk about the team? He goes, wait, who are you playing this weekend? And we're all like, and Sebastian Lletget was like, Kansas City. And he's like, I hope it's Kansas City. That's who we've been preparing for. It was one of those. It was funny. Just a little moment there. But yeah, I mean, this is a team they have circled. They want to show that they are a good team in Major League Soccer. That's a real motivational factor. When we talk about the 1% that sort of makes the difference, right? Every MLS team can play soccer. It's like that 1 to 5% difference that makes a good team a really good team.
And I think something that I've noticed this season, and I don't know if it's me taking crazy pills or if it's actually a legitimate thing. I think having fans back in the stadium, it gives an edge. You can tell in that some of these games, especially that when the Galaxy first came back and fans were allowed back in, you can tell they fed off that energy and they went for it and just seemed to give it that little extra. You're seeing it in the Euros with England playing, at Wembley with fans in the stand. They just seem to have that little bonus. And, we saw when Hungary played Portugal, them going wild, and holding Portugal scoreless for, 80 plus minutes. So I think there's something about the fans being gone. And then now that they're back, I think it just fires these players up. And that could be, it's not going to change the game. It's not going to make a bad team good. But it could be that 1-2%, that little extra. You make that extra sprint. You do that little extra. You make that run when you're tired because you have that home crowd behind you. I think that is something that can make a difference.
And Alex, by the way, in the chat room points out very correctly, they're also wearing the community kit. Undefeated in the community kit. So it was funny. I think somebody was saying, man, I'm going to be really sad when, after the end of next season, the LA Galaxy finally have to retire their undefeated community kit. Like they were never going to, it was, I always like it whenever people sort of put up, then they're like, oh, it's the community kit, instant win. We're good. We're good. Galaxy going to win. It's
Move
fine.
it on.
Yeah, Will, by the way, gave us a $7 super chat. Says gas for Gosh Force One plane to get hammered to the home games. So we'll see if we're gonna have to. Maybe we're just gonna get you. I think I'll get you a drink coupon for Southwest. So
I was gonna say $7 gets me on a pet crate on Spirit Air. So I think that's good. I think that'll get me here.
How long can you hold your breath?
Not long.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Well, have CPR ready to go.
Okay, Roger that. So we'll get it. All right, LA Galaxy facing off against Sporting Kansas City coming up 7:30 p.m. Sunday. I will hope everybody has a safe and happy 4th of July weekend. Hopefully everybody has Monday off because we're going to be going late on Sunday night for sure. So a lot of fun. I'm going to say around here, certainly there's a lot of normal 4th of July activities taking place, which I'm very thankful for. So everybody be safe out there. Enjoy it. Try to keep all your fingers and toes if you're playing with fireworks.
Yes, big time.
Yeah, that's always an important one, and hopefully we'll see you there at the game. I'm planning on being there on Sunday and on the midweek game as well, coming up on Wednesday whenever they host FC Dallas. So a busy week coming up. We'll have a Sunday, we'll have a Monday night show, game on Wednesday, then a Thursday night show. So things rapid fire here for the podcast and for the LA Galaxy. Things are going to start heating up here in the summertime as well. Anything else, Eric, that you want to get to before we get on out of here?
No, I just want to thank all the listeners, everyone who reached out with the kind words and the super chat and reaching out on social media. I appreciate it. This community is something special, and whenever you have a big life event and you make an announcement, and to have people gassing you up and making you feel good, I love this LA Galaxy community, and just appreciate all the support and the kind words in the last month, which has been a little hectic, but also very exciting.
All right. Well, good. We're glad to have you back. And by the way, dramatic game previews will return once Eric gets settled and can breathe a little bit. All right. The dude has to put a lot of stuff in there for their good. And by the way, Gilbert gave you a $5 super chat. Going to get you first class.
Yeah, $12.
Yeah,
$12. I'm getting champagne and I'm making it happen.
That's right. That's how it goes. All right. Hammer, tell people where they can find you. We'll get you on out of here.
All right. As always, you can find me on Twitter at HammerEV. You can also find me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL. Been gone for a little bit, taking a little bit of a break, but I'll be checking back in soon.
All right, Eric, we are glad to have you back. Always fun. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, of course, at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. We have your videos up. We'll have more stuff. We'll have Larry's notebook up there as well, getting you ready for the game coming up on Sunday. LA Galaxy, Sporting Kansas City, July 4th, 7:30 p.m. game. Make sure you're there. All right, for Eric, the Portuguese Hammer, I'm Josh Pato Guesmand. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo. And on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.